Alrighty, welcome to the new moon in Aries, March 24th, 2020. This will not be a prediction video. All the discussion about the new moon in Aries will be on my podcast, and the link will be at the end of this video and also in the description. This video is for activity and educational purposes only. Are you ready? Okay, so here I've taken everything out except the new moon in Aries. So one of the things that we're going to see is that obviously everything's missing, but also that this particular new moon is conjunct Chiron, and it is making a T-square squaring the nodes. Now this is going to be very important. Those nodes are going to amplify anything that this new moon is bringing into your life. So the question becomes, well, okay, so how do I know what it's bringing in my life? Well, the first thing is we're going to figure out how and where this is impacting us. So let's go here for a second. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to figure out where this new moon in Aries is falling in our chart. So for those of you who do not have your time of birth, right, and that's okay if you don't, we can work around it. What you're going to do is you're going to use your sun sign. So for example, if my sun sign is Scorpio, okay, I'm going to put my sun here on Scorpio. So disregard these little degrees on the houses, because this particular new moon is set up for Washington, D.C. The angles on the cusp are going to be slightly different wherever you are. Got too many here. Sorry, let me fix this. All right, so in a solar wheel, we're going to start with Aries. So this is going to be Taurus. This will be Gemini, Cancer. This would be Leo. Ignore that. And this would be Virgo. Ignore that. Sometimes when you've got intercepted houses, you're going to get that. So just disregard. Libra, Scorpio, Sag, Cap. This will be Aquarius. And this will be Pisces. So ignore that. So when you're setting up your chart, what you're going to do is you're going to take your sun sign and put it in the house following that sign. So for example, if you look here, this is Cancer, right? And North Node is here in this house, right? So Cancer, let me use a different color here. Cancer rules right here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the fourth house of the chart with Aries rising. If you don't know what time you were born, don't worry about that. What I want you to do is figure out where on this wheel your sun sign is going to go. So for instance, if you were Scorpio, you're going to go here. You just put your sun right there. And again, disregard the degrees. We're not using those. So from there, once you put your sun in the wheel here, where this sign of Scorpio is, you're going to put the number 1, which would represent the first house. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So when we work with a solar house, wherever your sun is becomes the first house. And from there, we can now determine where this new moon goes. So your new moon, if you were Scorpio, and we were using a solar chart, as we are in this example, this new moon is now falling in your 6th house. So I'm going to pause right here for a second and give you guys a chance to catch up. Hopefully that makes sense for you. So let me get rid of these. You guys can put your own stuff in. All right, and if you need to pause the video right here to kind of do this on paper, then go ahead and pause the video. Basically, you're drawing a circle with a pizza pie, 12 slices, and you can put your signs, Aries through Pisces, along each slice of the pie, and then you can just kind of fill this in. All right, so now that we've gotten all of that done, the first thing we're going to look at is Chiron, because this is what is making this particular new moon particularly gnarly. This is not the most comfortable new moon we've ever had, for sure. So Chiron is the planetoid that is more better named the give me a break already planet. Chiron is the place where it just doesn't stop ever, 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 ever. So you got a lot to give from your Chiron, but there's just not a whole lot of comfort and relief you're going to get for it. Unfortunately, that's just the way the chips fall, baby cakes. So whatever house and that this new moon conjunct Chiron is occurring in, we can expect to see a reactivation of issues that are coming through this house, right? And also planets and aspects, but we don't literally have enough time to get in that in one video, and without looking at a specific natal chart. But we can tell a lot just by where this is positioned by house in your chart. So looking at the house that this new moon conjunct Chiron is occurring, this is where we can expect to see a reactivation of some less than great stuff we've mostly been able to ignore for a while, that will be coming up for review very, very shortly. So right now, looking at your chart in front of you, figure out which of the 12 houses this new moon conjunct Chiron is sitting in, and then let's take a look at the houses. Okay, so we're going to use this wheel because Aries rises on the chart, and Aries is the natural ruler of the first house. You, of course, will put these Aries planets in the appropriate house in your chart, either your solar chart, or if you have your rising sign in an actual horoscope, you'll put it in the house that this 4-degree, 5-degree Aries would naturally fall in. If you are Aries, the new moon conjunct Chiron will be falling in your first house. This is everything to do with your identity and how you perceive yourself. This is a very, very fertile time for you to check in and ask yourself the important questions, a lot of them having to do with, do I see myself the way other people see me? Because self-perception is everything. So the things that cause you the most insecurity or the most concern or the things that are just not working in life in terms of your relationships and stuff, where you may in fact be completely overbearing, that rug may get pulled out from underneath you at this time by other people, because you need to check in with yourself and the people around you to see that your perception of yourself and what you're doing matches how other people are experiencing you. You can make a lot of headway in your relationships and your personal development right now if you just do this one thing with this particular new moon conjunct Chiron. If you are a Taurus or you have Taurus rising, this new moon will fall in your 12th house. Your 12th house has a lot to do with your deeper spiritual values. So many of you may find yourself really coming to terms with some issues that have to do with materialism and your emphasis on material security and hoarding, as a manifestation of fear as opposed to faith. The 12th house has a lot to do with not just hospitalization and prisons and institutions. It also has everything to do with our spiritual health. So those of you who are Taurus or Taurus rising will be experiencing this Aries stellium with Chiron in your 12th house, which is a deep soul-searching house. So many of you will be put in positions where you really have to do a lot of soul-searching about things you didn't think you'd ever need to have conversations about. Some losses and some grieving may occur at this time that forces those issues. Gemini. If you are a Gemini, this new moon will fall in your 11th house. This new moon conjunct Chiron in your 11th house has a lot to do with your participation in the world around you and your friends, and also your social priorities. So for many of you as Geminis, this is going to be a time of really getting in touch with the things that you're most afraid of that have to do with loneliness and social isolation, not of the community health directed kind, but you know what I mean. Loneliness, social isolation, being separated from the herd, and the depth of your friendships or lack of depth in your friendships, and community and how you're actually participating in your community as opposed to just kind of being a surface glider type of insect, kind of skimming the surface of the waters, not ever actually participating or meaningfully connecting with everyone around you. So this is a really important and fertile time to get involved in meaningful community activities and to take all those Gemini gifts and to put them to more constructive use than superficial entertainment. But only you'll know best where you need to do the work on your life in terms of how you're contributing to the community around you. If you are a Cancer, this new moon conjunct Chiron is occurring in your 10th house, and right now you guys are really getting hammered right now. So many things are reaching their breaking point that have to do with literally image, self-image, public image, what you think life is supposed to look like versus how life actually is, and how flexible and willing you are in allowing other people to be themselves and not extensions or expressions of themselves separate from your idea of how the world works, your idea of what a family should look like, your idea of what their role is in their relationships with you. This is a particularly challenging time that will allow you, if you're willing to, cut your teeth, as it were, and kind of get through this, because this is all about you, darling, all about you. This is a very, very important time and fertile time for you to do some amazing work on yourself that will allow you to reinvent yourself into a bigger, better, more loved, more flexible, more amazing version of yourself. Or not, or you can keep fighting with everybody around you as you try to maintain the status quo, because that's really what's been on the table for a while now, and under this new moon, it will be coming to a head. If you are a Leo, this new moon will be occurring in your 9th house, and this 9th house has everything to do with the future, where you're trying to go. So the days of wine and roses are over, my friend. This is the time to get serious and really ask yourself, where am I headed? And how is anything I'm doing getting me there? So the 9th house, they say, has a lot to do with foreigners and long-distance travel and international affairs and the big meta picture, right? Not the little picture in our life, but the big picture in our life. And all of these things are valid and true. The 9th house is also a very life-giving house. It is Sagittarius's or Jupiter's house. It is definitely Jupiter's house. And for you, you may find that this is an opportunity for you to get really, really honest, and to, so there's not a whole lot of tension right now with this particular new moon for you, but the magic is if you're willing to allow yourself to get quiet, really quiet, and listen and watch, right? And look, all the clues about how to recalibrate your navigational devices so that you can go in the direction you need to will be right there. This may be, surprisingly, in spite of the fact that it is Jupiter's house and it's a 9th house, this may be an incredibly depressing time for you, more so than even with the Tauruses. But if it is depressing, it is because you're not listening and paying attention. So if you find yourself literally drowning in a sea of despair right now, stop, get quiet, and listen. All of the information you need from the angels, your ancestors, your guides, everything out there that's in the unseen realm is there trying to talk to you. But for the love of God, you've got to stop thrashing about and feeling sorry for yourself and just listen. And in that, you'll find the life-changing little pieces of encouragement that you need that will propel you forward. And it may not be a giant Technicolor movie, but it will be that one critical moment or decision or piece of advice or guidance or encouragement that puts you on the right path that will change your life in huge ways later. So just quiet down and listen. If you are a Virgo, this new moon is occurring in your 11, 10, 9, 8, in your 8th house. Yee! So, my Virgo friends, not the easiest time, especially with Mercury in its fall right now. You and Geminis are experiencing this in not great ways, but in very, very different ways. So, for you, Virgo, with this new moon conjunct Chiron in your 8th house, one of the things that we would look for is So a couple of things. First, I would watch my digestion. So believe it or not, right now is a great time to clean up your diet and to take a look at your nutritional profile and to really examine how you're eating and how you're taking care of yourself and all of those things that go into purifying the body and the environment. Because this is a purging new moon for you. So this is a great time to get rid of crap that's just there. Okay? The other thing is with that 8th house, relationships and the quality of relationships. You know, your deep, intimate, one-on-one relationships, not your relationships with everybody on the sun, you know, or your coworkers or anything like that, but the really critical, important relationships that you have that make all the difference in the world in terms of your mental health, right? Those are the ones that are coming up for review right now. And this is a very, very good time to repair them, improve them. Have those talks, get really honest. And even if the person that you're having a relationship with that impacts your mental health or your emotional health is no longer alive, right? These are ghosts of the past that you can't talk to if you wanted to. You can still write a letter. You can still speak your piece. You can still say what needs to be said instead of carrying these things around, you know, like a big cloak of shame or guilt or pain or regret or resentment, whatever those things are. Remember, for you, my friends, with this new moon conjunct Chiron in your 8th house in Aries, this is a purging new moon. So have those conversations, even if it means having those conversations by letter or journaling with the dead, whoever those people are or that person is that impacts your mental and emotional health so deeply and profoundly right now. And it may be you. This may be you need to have this conversation with. Do it. Do it. All right, Libra. This new moon conjunct Chiron is going to be in your 7th house. And boy, if you have ever wanted to know the shortcomings of diplomacy, you will be learning them now. So, Libra, my friends, with the new moon conjunct Chiron in your 7th house, this is, believe it or not, this is an important time for you to draw boundaries. And more important, to take a stand. So no more wishy-washy, you know, flexing and bending and twisting and dancing to try and keep the peace. No more saying one thing and doing another. No more manipulation. No more, you know, typical Libran diplomacy nonsense. You know, usually it's a very good thing, but honestly, it can get a little excessive, and you know that. This is the time to put your foot down, plant your flag, and be serious about where you stand on things. You have no choice. You know, the challenge is that it requires a tremendous amount of courage to stand alone, you know, and without the approval and support of other people. And this is the very thing that you're going to have to bite the bullet on and pursue if you're going to get through this new moon conjunct Chiron with any benefit from it. You can certainly opt to not do anything at all, and life will continue as usual. You know, and the problem is that life will continue as usual. So it's your choice. Scorpio, this new moon is going to occur in your 6th house. So for you, my friends, this 6th house new moon conjunct Chiron is problematic. So some of you may have physical health challenges that you're going to be dealing with. I would advise all Scorpios and Scorpio risings to be particularly vigilant about protecting your health right now. You are more susceptible than other people for reasons unknown to the rest of us, largely having to do with your karmic inheritance of constantly, or at least once in your life, putting yourself in a life or death situation where it's you against imminent death. Like people say that you're crisis prone, but the reality is there are levels of intensity and authenticity that only come from having these kinds of experiences where everything is stripped away except you and death, right? I mean, boy, if there was ever a time anybody got honest with themselves, that is that moment. So you are prone to these types of high level moments because you're constantly trying to get to the deepest, most honest parts of yourself. Unfortunately, right now, my friends, we are in the middle of a freaking pandemic because some people are too stupid to keep their behinds home. Sorry, spring break, yay! Children, get your behinds home or stay in Florida. Anyway, I'm a little frustrated myself. So with that said, and I know many of you are crisis workers, or you are the rocks, literally the rocks that everybody else leans on in your families and stuff, and the person who does the things that nobody else is willing or capable of doing. I get that. So while you're out doing what you always do, please, please, please be more vigilant and protective of your health, because at this point in time, you are more prone to being a magnet for life and death challenges than at any other time. This particular new moon conjunct Chiron in your 6th house is not kind, and it's not planned. This is not the time to play, the chicken, or I dare you with the cosmos, because you will lose. So that is my friendly warning for you. I've got no other good advice except pay attention and value your life as much as you value being there for everybody else. Sagittarius. If you are a Sagittarius, 2, 3, 4, 5, this new moon conjunct Chiron is occurring in your 5th house of children and creativity. Many of you will be taking a really serious look at, the things that make you happy and bring you joy in life. Your relationship with your children, if you have children, will definitely come up for review. Some of you may be asking yourself what you were thinking when you had your kids, especially if you've been home with them any length of time. I know you love them. We all love our children, but golly day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week is a lot of time to spend with little kids. So, with this, and it's emphasizing your 5th house, this new moon conjunct Chiron in your 5th house, this is also a moment of clarity in terms of the things that bring you joy. Like, how are you expressing yourself creatively? What do you do to make things, to make your presence in the world known? So for those of you who are makers, as well as artists and musicians, this is a great time to get in and really explore the extent and experimentation levels of projects you've been meaning to try out. You're going to be amazed at what you can cull from scraps, believe it or not, at this time. So don't be afraid to go in and recycle, as it were. I know it's an odd thing to hear someone say, but honestly, recycling scraps and pieces of things that you have around, either in terms of creative projects you've never finished or actual physical material goods that you can work with, and rebuild into something else. This is a tremendously fertile time and ingenious time to discover what brilliance lies underneath all of this. So go you. All right, Capricorn. Yikes. Oh, my sweet Capricorn. If you are a Capricorn, you are taking this new moon conjunct Chiron in the 4th house, and that means that end-of-life issues are weighing more heavily on your mind than ever before right now, and with good reason. No one's going to fault you for it. So family, legacy, end-of-life issues, our parents, all of those things that bring us back down to earth and certainly down underneath the soil, all of these things are spotlighted at this time. Also, most important, anything, any unfinished business or any unnecessarily unforgiven things, any broken things, broken relationships, broken situations, broken people, these things that could be repaired and fixed and resolved, or at least made right with God and yourself again, are definitely coming into high focus right now and need to be addressed for your own mental health. This is no time to play. So whoever those people are that you need to have those conversations with, or make those reparations with, or rebuild those bridges with, whatever those things are, this is the time to make right with God, whoever your God is. All right? This is not to say that you will die, but it is to say that this is that kind of cloud hanging over you, and for your mental and emotional health, you're going to need to do this. So this is the time, and this is the call to action being presented to you. Oops. Aquarius. If you're an Aquarius, this new moon is occurring in your 3rd house. And yay, Aquarius, Saturn has just entered your sign. So you would think this is a good thing, right? No, It's not a bad thing either, but boy, this is not going to be a fun party. So, my friends, with these third house new moon Chiron stellium for you, my Aquarians, this means that you really have to watch your mouth. It's usually the Aries we have to tell this to, but honest to God, it's going to be you guys. And one of the reasons I suspect, I could be wrong, but one of the reasons I suspect is because some of you are so hyper-rational and so hyper-logical that you don't realize how insensitive or callous you sound. It's not necessarily that you mean to be that way or that you are that way, but you will sound that way. So learning to speak to people in a way that is more considerate of their feelings rather than hard, cold facts is going to be your biggest challenge right now. People are way sensitive, and you, for whatever reason, well, not whatever reason, we know what the reasons are. We know what you Aquarians and Uranians are like. This is not the time to be yourself. This is actually the time to learn to be a better version of yourself, especially where your communications are concerned. So tread lightly, learn to soften what you're saying and balance it with considerations about how this will make other people feel, okay? And understand that Saturn has just entered the sign of Aquarius. So on top of this new moon and everything that's bringing with it to you, Saturn in Aquarius is not going to give you any freaking leeway or understanding or consideration or forgiveness for these faux pas in communication. So when you get hammered right now for saying things that upset or hurt people more than they needed to, we don't care if it's true or if it's fact. There's a way to say stuff and there's a way not to say stuff, and there's a time and a place to say things. You will learn about all of these things all at once. When you are not in line with those things, you're going to get hammered. And I mean hammered in ways you're not going to enjoy and may not be able to recover from. So learn to speak to people in ways that help improve situations, starting with being considerate of their feelings before you choose your words. That's your challenge with this new moon conjunct Chiron. And Pisces, my friends, if you're a Pisces, this new moon conjunct Chiron is occurring in your second house of resources. So for my Pisces friends, this is going to be a very trying time in terms of having the physical resources that you need to kind of get through. This is also a very powerful time to see exactly where the chinks in the armor is. So if you have been hemorrhaging money somewhere and didn't know it, if you have been falling short of your potential in terms of your earning ability or your resources or ability to acquire resources, anywhere you have been your own worst enemy, Chiron, all right, as far as your resources and your earning ability goes, second house, this is the time when you're really going to have a come to Jesus moment, and you're going to see it clearly without any excuses or anything else for the first time in a long time. Now, what you do with that information is completely up to you, obviously, but my suggestion would be is you guys get out from underneath the covers and stop sleeping until noon. We know you're depressed. We're all depressed. We know you're not getting any sleep. Nobody's getting any sleep. We know this is a really sucky time and you're really overwhelmed. We are all overwhelmed. So get off the pity train. The self-pity party is over. And when you get real clarity about how you have been your own worst enemy, then you can make a decision about doing something about it and making plans and strategies and figure out how to sort this out moving forward. Or you can, feel really bad about it and go back under the covers and go back to sleep. The choice is yours, but this is what this new moon conjunct Chiron represents. It's an opportunity to get clarity about where you have been failing yourself. And also, surprise, how to fix that. So there you go. Okay, so this has been a very general activity overview of looking at the new moon as it is positioned in your chart, either with a solar horoscope because you don't know your time of birth, or with your actual chart because you do know your time of birth. The highlights are this. The new moon is in Aries conjunct Chiron. This will also involve the Cancer Capricorn nodes And within the next 24 to 48 hours, it will pull in the rest of the Capricorn planets that were not mentioned here. And a discussion about what that means is in the podcast. Saturn has also entered Aquarius, which will factor into this. That is also discussed in the podcast. And ultimately, the biggest highlight from and takeaway from all of this right now is to do what you can, where you are, with what you have, and stop being self-absorbed. More than any other time, right now, it's not about you personally, it's about all of us together. So there you go. So hang in there. If you're interested in the accompanying podcast and a deeper discussion about this new moon in all of its aspects and other factors that are going on right now, it is available in my podcast. The link to the podcast is located below in the description box for the video. Also, with the podcast, I can accept voice messages. I can accept voice messages from you there too. So if you have a question or you'd like to participate in the podcast, please, by all means, leave a voice message. And if I can use it in a podcast, I will certainly have you featured as one of my guest callers on the podcast. That link will be in the box below too. So this has been Ms. Jenny with Primal Girl Wellness and Down to Earth Astrology. Hoping you are getting through this with your sanity intact as best you can do. And hang in there, baby.